Hello, Africa, and welcome to another exciting episode of the AfCFTA podcast. As we have been telling you, at this time, we are in the meat of the AfCFTA agreement itself, bringing you all the conversations from the Secretariat where the action is going on, where protocols are being converted into practical actions on the ground for you to see the effect of the AfCFTA as the AfCFTA moves from negotiations. And that's what we've been trumpeting on this platform all this while, that the AfCFTA, the African Continental Free Trade Agreement, has moved from the negotiation stages and now to the implementation stages where a lot of protocols, instruments, tools have been put in place to ensure that you are able to move goods as well as services from one country to the other that are party states of the AfCFTA agreement. Today we are going to talk about one such important protocol. An important protocol to many of us who offer services across the continent of Africa. If you offer a service on this continent of Africa, this is for you. And you might have to call all your friends and fellows to come gather. You are in the creative space. You are a musician, a dancer, journalist. You are a creative person on the continent of Africa, content creator, especially if you do a lot of things on YouTube like we are on at the moment. This is for you, and there's a lot that you are going to hear today. There's a lot that the AfCFTA, through the protocol for trading services, has been able to put together, and that's what we're going to dwell on today. Fortunately, I am joined by a very, very important person who is driving this protocol at the AfCFTA Secretariat on behalf of the continent of Africa, together with a team doing extremely well, making sure that services that are offered on the continent of Africa should be able to move from one country, let's say in East Africa, to another country, let's say in Northern Africa. I'm joined by Director Emily. Director Emily, it's a pleasure to have you.
It's always a pleasure to be with you,
the caveat, though, that I should have told everybody that I worry you the most.
That you do. But it's always good.
It's good. It's good.
Yes.
And I sometimes when I worry, I get excited.
Why is that?
Because I'll get this wonderful and beautiful smiles from you, you know.
The trademark.
The trademark. No, and you know, congratulations on all the work that you have been doing as well. A lot of us have followed the work that you have been doing. Not long ago, you had the Creative Connect Africa, the big one, bringing all the creatives on the continent of Africa together.
Yes.
And the first one happened in Accra, right, in Ghana here.
Yes, last year.
Last year. That's beautiful. Congratulations for that wonderful job.
You.
But how was that for you, though? Let me start on that. How was that for you? Bringing all Africans, and briefly before we even delve into the deeper aspects of services that would include the creative as well. How was it bringing all creatives on the continent of Africa together?
Thank you, Sam. And of course, you were a big part of that event, and it was a lovely event. And I like saying that it went beyond our wildest dreams. And why is that? Because we were able to bring together young people who were so excited to be with us, and who most of them did not understand much about the AfCFTA. Nobody had thought that the AfCFTA can be that interesting. Because everyone hears about with moving goods.
They think that it's that serious. It's all about products that have to. They didn't know that you can move music actually from one country to the other.
Exactly. And the collaborations that can go on in music, in film, in fashion. And you remember how exciting it was to have the different fashion designers from Gabon. I didn't even know Gabon had such serious designs, you know, and the cultural aspect of it. So for us, it was really, really wonderful to see the young people getting involved in the AfCFTA. You know, we talk about involving women and youth in the AfCFTA, but that was an exact practical way of the linkages between trading goods, because at the end of the day, the clothes that they bring on board, that's goods. So that is a relationship with trading goods automatically. Then, of course, it brings in the issues of tariff liberalization.
Yeah.
How then do you make sure that you're able to bring on board for filmmakers, for photojournalists, the equipment that they need? That's the part of trading goods. And that's the part of where you talk about rules of origin, you talk about the tariff liberalization work that we do at the AfCFTA. Now, to protect the music that is developed by those young people, we bring in the issues of intellectual property rights into play. And we have the protocol on intellectual property rights. Of course, here today we are talking about the protocol on trading services. So
trading services.
The main part of it is, of course, trading services.
But I'm excited that you connected it.
But you see all the linkages with different areas of the work that we're doing at the AfCFTA. Let's even talk about digital trade. When you, for most of those young people, digital trade becomes a very big
because these
component.
days most of the musics are played on the on YouTube and all
exactly.
that.
Spotify.
Movies are all on YouTube and all that.
Look at the films. Netflix.
Good. It's good. You have highlighted most of the things, and that should tell you, folks, that this is going to be very, very exciting. Because, look, if you didn't know that the trading service that we hear all the time, it may sound very technical to you. We're going to break all of them down. If you are singing in Kampala, Uganda, if you are singing in Lagos, Nigeria, and you want to see how you do collaboration with your partner in Kampala, Uganda, for instance, this is the best conversation you want to hear. Even payment, how you assess payments and all of that. That's why Director talks about digital trade, the commercial aspect of what you're engaging in, the services you're engaging in online and all of that. We're going to get all that breakdown. And services, because services is broad, Director. People who are engaged in legal services, and maybe a Ghanaian lawyer who wants to establish, let's say in South Africa, a doctor in maybe Kenya who wants to set up a clinic in Ghana, for instance. The movement of services is quite broad. Why do you think the trading services protocol is critical aspect of the AfCFTA?
Wow. You know, we actually do say there is no trading goods without trading services. And why is that? You need to transport the goods from one country to another.
To the other. And people produce the goods.
Exactly. So the moment you talk about transport, you're already talking about transport services. Whether maritime, whether air transport, whether land. When we say land, we mean roads and railway. Whether it's by internal waterways in the different countries where you share big lakes. All those, you require services. We talk tourism. Tourism is a service. And with tourism, you remember when we were doing the Creatives Connect, it's the linkages between tourism, cultural, and creatives. So under trading services, we call it entertainment, we can call it recreational. There is also sporting, which is also part of the creative industry. You talk about the communication services sector. And in communication services sector, you look at telecommunication, you look at courier services, when you want your parcels to move from one country to another. We talk about audiovisual. And whenever we talk about audiovisual, even what we're doing here, it's
part of it. It's part of services.
It's part of services. You know, it's wide. And for us at the AfCFTA, we are dealing with it from 12 broad services sectors.
Great.
And here of them, we have 5 that have been prioritized for negotiations.
Out of the 12?
Out of the 12.
You've prioritized 5 of them.
It's actually the member states who prioritized the
good.
5.
Good.
And
so the member states have emphasized on 5 out of the 12 services.
Yes. The priority, and why prioritize them? Because they are crucial for both trading goods and for also enabling the other trading services. So these 5 are business services. You've been talking about legal services. Legal services are part of the broader professional services. So, and under professional services, you have a number of services sectors that we're talking about. Architectural services, medical services, urban planning, all those fall under business services. There are also other services that we rarely talk about, which are like branding services, marketing services. You talk about computer-related services, rental services. All those fall under what we call business services.
I see.
The second one is communication services. With that one, I had already elaborated, so I
has
won't
to
go
do with the
into it.
telecommunications and all of that.
Yes. The third one is financial services sector. We can't do anything without payments. Yeah. And so because of that, we need the financial services sector to be already liberalized and well functioning so as to be able to trade. And of course, as I mentioned earlier, it's for both trading goods and trading services.
Because you can't, trade in goods
Yes.
or purchase a good without paying for it. And if you have to pay for it, somebody who is ensuring that payment takes place is offering a service financially.
Exactly. Then we have tourism services. And with tourism, we talk about the tour operators, we talk about the tour guides, we talk about restaurants. When you go to a restaurant, that's a service you're
You're offered a service.
You're being offered a service.
Hospitality services here and there.
The whole hospitality.
Hotel.
Yes, it falls under the tourism services sector. Then apart from that, you have now the transport services sector. Now the transport and tourism are already completely interlinked, but you also need transport for goods. So, and that's why I say these 5 priority sectors were key so that they could enable both the movement of goods and also the movement of other services. And not that we are not working on the other ones. We have already initiated a lot of work to ensure that member states understand what is contained also in the other 7 sectors. We can't call them priority anymore now. They are the 7 additional sectors that we now need to look at and ensure that they are also liberalized. And these are distribution services. We need that, especially if the transport services is also going to work efficiently. You need the warehouses that are under distribution services. You need to also ensure that the energy-related services are taken care of. We need electricity. You cannot do digital trade or move services across borders under what we call Mode 1 if you are not able to have the electricity or the energy services, the utilities. And it's not only the electricity that is covered under energy related, you also have oil and petroleum. You have the pipelines that are also part of transport and also related to energy related services. Then another sector that we have is construction services sector. You cannot have your hotels if you don't have construction.
Not at all.
You can't have the roads without construction. So that's another sector, and it's also related to the architectural service sector in terms of the building and the built environment. The building environment. Then another one is actually critical to our tourism, which we call the recreational, cultural, and sporting sector. So your sports, sporting, your sports are also part of the trade.
And I've been wondering which one you yourself are engaged in, because I see you all the time very active, particularly when you have to organize your program. So very active, you know. I will ask you before we leave.
Yes.
You will tell us. Good. So those are also part of it, sporting and recreational.
All those are part of the services.
That's quite broad.
Environmental.
That's quite broad.
It's quite broad.
Environmental services.
Environmental services.
What does that entail?
It entails the sewages that we have to use when doing construction. So it also has that link with the construction service. It entails also ensuring that there is the general cleanliness. So the cleaning service is part of it. So all of it, you can actually see sustainable development. When we're talking about issues of sustainable development, we're already covering key elements of trading services under the environmental sector.
Great.
So you can actually see the importance of ensuring that the services sector is actually moving and ensuring that we have the key regulations that are important in terms of a well-functioning services sector. And maybe just to mention there that for us, one of the key elements that we have been looking at is also mutual recognition agreements. Because you mentioned the legal services sectors.
Yeah.
The lawyers will not be able to move from one country to another if their qualifications or licensing procedures are not
recognized in the other party state. Yeah.
Exactly. So that needs to be done. And so that's also part of the work that
that's
we
the
are undertaking.
mutual recognition agreement.
Yeah.
That does what, not to rudely barge in, that does what, it helps for party states to recognize what?
To recognize each other's qualifications.
Good.
Each other's licenses. Now, when we talk for lawyers,
yes,
you also still have to get your practicing license. Yeah. So when you go to School of Law and get your licensing, your practicing license, then that has to be recognized in another country for you to be able to practice
there.
So that is necessary for us. We've gone ahead a bit more to look at it from also the part of what we would call sectoral mutual recognition. And in this case, we are talking about regulators actually accepting each other policies if we talk about the insurance services sector. So, and this, I like giving that example of insurance. Why? If you look at the East African and Southern African region, we have what we call the yellow card for third-party insurance for motor vehicles, yeah? If you come to Central Africa, I'm told it's called the purple card, and the royal
yes,
color.
In fact, I was going to say, and maybe when we get to the fashion, I was going to say, I was tempted to comment on your fashion, but it would just give me away that I was admiring the dress too much.
Yes.
And very beautiful. Let you land on that.
Yes.
I'll come back to how beautiful your dress is,
yes.
and the fashion industry, and whether this is coming from Kenya or is coming from Nigeria. Where is this beautiful style coming from? We'll talk about that, but you finish on your point.
All right. So you have the purple card in Central Africa. Then in West Africa, where we are, we have the brown card.
Okay.
Now, with all these different cards that are available, how do we harmonize and bring it together such that the purple card will recognize the yellow card, and the yellow card will recognize the brown card, and the brown card will recognize the purple card? So those are part of the recognition work that we have to do, and this we are calling sectoral recognition agreements. So if we can come up with also sectoral recognition agreements whereby different sectors, and in this example, the insurance services sector actually recognizes each other's policies, it will make it easier for even motor vehicles to cross borders.
Yeah.
And so with that harmonization work, then we are able to easily trade among ourselves, because right now we are not able to trade much among ourselves.
Transport is not able to move from, let's say, West Africa to East Africa because maybe insurance policies are not aligned, are not integrated. And like you're putting it, maybe a brown card is not recognizing a purple card and all of that.
Yeah.
That's a very beautiful example, and I would want you to continue to give us a lot more practical example for folks who have always thought that when we say some of these protocols, they are quite far away from them. And I'm interested in your beautiful beautiful outfit. Where's it coming from, though?
Actually, this is part of the Creatives Connect meeting, whereby we had all these different fashion designers coming in. And this one specifically was from
made
Nigeria.
for you?
We have to give it to the Nigerians.
Wow. This is coming from Nigeria.
This is coming from Nigeria.
I see. And the Kenyan, proud Kenyan as you are rocking this beautifully.
Rocking with it.
That's nice. That's nice.
Let me even give you another example.
Please.
Because this is now fashion.
Yeah.
And part of fashion, let's say your haircut. That's a part of trading services.
Really? The barbers, the hairdressers?
The barbers, the hairdressers, they're all part of trading
offering
services.
That's interesting.
You see?
That's interesting. And so if you have to, let's say if you're a barber, if you are a hairdresser, hairstylist as they call them, and you have to move from, let's say, Nigeria to go and style hair, maybe you do natural hair products and all of that, go and style hair in, say, Ethiopia.
Yeah.
You are offering services across continent.
Across the continent. You're offering your services. So that's where we say trading services. Most of it is intangible. And so most of the time you cannot see it. And because you can't see it, most people find it difficult to talk trading services. But the issue is that you also have what we will say tangible services. And tangible because you have to be seated there for you to receive that service. And why when we talk about the intangible part of services, we also say most of the services, first, you cannot see it happening, because when you're sending money, let's say from Ghana to Kenya, you're not seeing, and you have to have faith. Or you go to a barber, you're actually having faith that that barber will actually
do it right.
do it right.
Yeah.
So most services, that's really the tricky part, that you have to have a lot of trust and also have faith in what is being done. And maybe that's what helps us also with faith when it comes to working in the area of trade.
In services, trading services, right? We have a lot of fashion designers across the continent doing very beautiful dresses. You found your beautiful dress from Nigeria. There may be somebody, and you're from Kenya. There may be somebody in Kenya. You wear this in Kenya, and the person says, "We need this kind of beautiful dresses in Kenya." How do we get the designer to bring this to Kenya? Immediately, this person is somebody who can potentially rely on the trading service protocol. Is that the case?
Yes, but it goes beyond the trading services protocol, because this is a good.
It's also a good, yes.
You remember my example at the very beginning. And so the designer has used their knowledge to actually create this good.
Yeah.
But once it becomes a good, we now have to move to the trading goods protocol.
Yeah.
And that's where the challenge always comes in. Like this weekend, interestingly, I had a lady who works for Christy Brown.
Okay. Wow.
the fashion
big
designer,
one, yeah.
the big one here in Ghana. And so we got to talk. How do you get the designs to Kenya? Do you have Kenyan clients? How does it work? And she said, yes, they do have the Kenyan clients. But most of the time, they can't sell en masse to their clients in Kenya because of the tariffs. And so that is what also the AfCFTA is working to address. If we can work on the textiles and clothing sector, then we can be able to promote more the fashion sector. But as is right now, those are some of the challenges that we need to actually address, not only in terms of transport and logistics, but also in terms of the tariffs and the rules of origin.
What would you say are some of the progress that have been made regarding making sure that some of the services areas within the protocol that you talked about are being utilized at the moment? So what's a level of progress on the protocol which can today be assessed and be utilized, be harnessed by the service providers on the continent?
Okay, that's a good one. Let me say, trading services is not traded completely the same way as trading goods. And that partly is the fact that I have said, the intangibility of it. So you have different modes of supply. We call them modes of supply in the case of trading services. And the first one, which we call mode 1, is really where both the service provider and the consumer of the service do not move. So it requires the digital means most of the time, and that's where the digital trading services always comes in. And with that mode, I can give the example of architectural drawings. You can have an architecture in Nigeria who then does some drawings for a Ugandan client based in Kampala, but they don't need to move. They send all their information through the emails, through the internet, and at the end of the day, the drawings get to the client in Kampala. So none of them moved, and so we call that mode 1. Mode 2 is where it's the consumer that moves. So in this case, if I continue with my example, then it would mean the client in Kampala goes to Nigeria, takes a flight to Lagos, and then meets with the service provider, the architect, in Lagos, and then they are able to discuss that the drawings that they want, that he wants or she wants drawn up. Then, so that is mode 2. The best example is usually tourism, where tourists goes to another country to be able to consume those services. Now, the third mode of supply is usually the most common one, which is called the Mode 3 or establishment. And here you have commercial presence, where if we are talking the architect, and this is where now even mutual recognition becomes very important, because the architect in Lagos then opens up a firm, an architectural firm in Kampala, and then provides architectural services in Kampala. So they have what we call commercial presence.
Okay.
You have all the different banks from different countries here in Ghana.
Yeah.
So it's that kind of commercial presence that we're talking about in the services sector. Now, the fourth one is the people, the movement of the people. And we have different categories of movement of people. But one caveat we are always saying in trading services is that we're not talking about permanent immigration in this case.
Okay.
We're talking about you going, providing services for a number of years,
in return,
or even a few months, or even a few days, and
see.
returning back to base. So we try to differentiate that clearly so that people don't confuse it with now getting all your
Permanent
work permits
stay
and
and
permanent
all of
stay.
that.
No. So services is not completely advocating for the full movement in terms of permanent immigration, but really just providing your services and then going back to base. And so those are the four main modes of supply that we have. Now, with that, then look at it now moving from one country to another and then providing your service in the other country. So from that point and the 12 sectors that I talked about, now we have been able so far as AfCFTA to have the protocol itself finalized, and we have to give credit to the negotiators who did it in 2018 when it was actually signed off in Kigali. That's March of 2018. And then since the establishment of the AfCFTA, we have been able to have 25 as of today. We have 25 adopted schedules of specific commitment. What we mean by that is that in the 5 priority sectors, member states of the African Union, who are also state parties of the African Continental Free Trade Area Agreement, have committed themselves to liberalize to a certain extent the subsectors or the 5 priority sectors that we have.
Okay.
Now, that is a very big achievement in terms of the 5 sectors. In addition to that, we can actually say 50 countries are participating in the negotiations, because we have 25 other countries that have given offers, though they are not yet finalized. They have given offers to say, we are ready to liberalize in the 5 priority sectors in this way. This is the level of liberalization that we want to give you. So those are the ones that are under negotiations. And 16 of those have now said, you know what, here is our draft commitment. And so with the draft commitment, it actually says they are actually in advanced stages to conclude. And so if we have the 16 plus the 25, we will now have about 41 countries by the end of this year, most probably.
Wow.
That
By the end of this year?
Exactly.
That's a great progress.
That will be ready to say we have committed ourselves to liberalize in the 5 priority sectors. In addition to that, we have work that we're doing on the regulatory cooperation frameworks. And for us, that was very important, because you can have the commitments, but there's some of the laws and regulations are actually the problem. So how do we harmonize this to ensure that there is predictability and there is ease of understanding the laws and regulations in each other's constitution, let's say jurisdiction. Exactly. So that is part of the issue, and that's part of what we are actually working on now.
Okay.
So for 2 sectors, we have actually concluded, and these have been adopted by
Which sectors are these?
These are communication and financial services. So these are really key.
Which ones are likely to follow that you've made significant progress that are likely?
Tourism and transport.
Good.
And
transport is very key as well. People can't wait for that.
Exactly. And the last one, of course, is the mutual recognition work that we're doing, so that professionals can actually easily move from one country to another to provide their services.
Okay, and what's the I would say the level of progress for the other 3? Let's say the transport and the other one, and then mutual recognition, which are yet to be done. What's the level of progress? When are we likely to see that also?
Actually, for transport and tourism, we hope by the end of the year to have finalized those. So then get into the whole legal scrubbing and adoption by the Assembly of Heads of States and Government of the African Union. So those are also near ending. And for mutual recognition, what we are actually working on is what we are calling the guidelines for developing mutual recognition agreements.
Okay.
Why did we think it's important to go with the guidelines first? We do not want to have arbitrary development of the mutual recognition agreements or the sectoral recognition agreements. And so it is necessary to then come up with the guidelines of how the different sectors will be developing the mutual recognition agreements under the AfCFTA. So that's why the guidelines became very important to develop. Yeah.
And the level of progress on that is also about when?
We hope to finalize by the end of the year, even those. But what we are starting with is soon, most probably next month, that is the month of April, to have what we call stakeholder consultations. So what we try to do with the regulations especially, and even for most of the annexes that were developed, was to ensure that we have stakeholder engagement so that there is more buy-in to also the products, if I may call it that, of the documents that we produce. And that also makes it easier for implementation because they were already part of the development of those documents. So we have the stakeholder negotiations, that consultations that will start. Then we have the subcommittee on mutual recognition of professional qualifications. And so under that subcommittee, we are going to look at the text of the guidelines before then it goes to the Committee on Trade-in Services for its endorsement or scrutiny, let me call it scrutiny, and negotiation before it is then sent to the Council of Ministers.
And I asked particularly for the timelines because I know and I see a lot of African service providers, teachers, nurses, who can't wait to be able to know that they actually can go practice. Maybe an English teacher who wants to go to a Francophone country to go and teach English, for instance. A nurse who wants to move from, let's say, a Southern African country to a Northern African country to go practice and all of that. How they have their certificates standardized so that among countries they're able to have their certificates recognized and all of that. I would want you to tell these service providers the change that the AfCFTA as a game is bringing to the table and how immediate, now that we have entered into the implementation stage, how immediate can such a service provider begin to look up to AfCFTA and say, you are my game changer, AfCFTA?
We are the game changer.
Yes, I know. And we can all see that. And I go back to your the Creative Connect and always say that, yes, this indeed is a game changer. But what's out there?
And it's doable.
Yeah, it is.
I think it's perception. Why do I say perception is very key? And for trading services, perception is everything, actually. Let me put it that way. And this is because we have teachers, we have nurses going to the UK. Yeah. So why is it easier for the UK to accept my qualifications as a Kenyan?
From Kenya, yes.
Yeah, but it's hard for Ghana to actually accept it.
That's interesting, actually.
You see,
why?
And we are both Commonwealth countries, to make it even more interesting.
Surprising.
So, and you know what makes it worse is that at one time it was possible and it was much easier.
Really?
We had Chief Justice in Kenya who was from Ghana.
I see.
We had Ghanaian teachers. But along the way, I believe it was also the fact that we started thinking of each other as foreigners in the continent. And I think with the AfCFTA, that is part of what we also need to start untangling. And one key sector now that you talked about teachers, in the additional sectors that we have is educational services.
Oh,
sector.
yes.
So it's really part of the services that are there.
Good.
And if I go back, I put my heart of East Africa back a bit. For Uganda, education services is one of their big service that they provide. And because they have done it actually on purpose. It wasn't just something
deliberate
that
policy
it was a deliberate policy
to train teachers who can offer services beyond.
Teachers who will have services beyond, and also to build schools, private schools, to provide educational services in Uganda. So you had a number of Kenyans going to Uganda to consume those services.
Wow.
And it has worked.
Great.
And it has also helped with the integration. So I think what I would say is mutual recognition. And mutual recognition, one of the key things, and after developing the mutual recognition agreements, we then have to dig deeper and say, how do we ensure that we standardize or a form of standardization of our education system? And that will then make it easier that if I go to university in Ghana, even if I do a low degree, I know it will still be easy to work even in Kenya.
Yeah.
Even as a student.
Yeah.
Because there are times you can come and do schooling in one country.
Yes.
But when you go back to your own country, you cannot be able to practice or use that education that you have because of the recognition issue. You see a number of doctors leaving the continent and going to Europe or the US, but then they can't practice because there's no recognition. Yeah. So it's that form of recognition that we want to work on. Good. And at the same time to make it easy to move from one country to another. But that cannot happen in a vacuum. Mm-hmm. We also have to really undertake a lot of advocacy, a lot of awareness, sensitization, and even training to make it easier for those service providers to know that there is opportunities, and for the consumers to also know that it's not just because it's coming from Africa, it is not good enough. You remember when we were having Creatives Connect, and we had the launch here in Accra, actually in our building. Yeah. And one of the participants actually really was on our case for wearing suits.
Oh, good. I remember. Why are people wearing suits? You should be in your proud African wear.
Exactly. So it's that kind of thing, perception.
Yeah.
Because we think that in our suits, it's better. So we need that perception and change of mindset so that if you see me in my nice African outfit,
which
I'm still professional.
I'll be copying you in the next one.
Exactly.
In my next episode with you, I would come in that purple, beautiful African design, probably coming from Kenya this time around. Don't go to Nigeria. It's too close to us.
Yes.
That's very heartwarming to hear a lot of these opportunities, particularly for service providers in the areas of teaching, education, health, and all of that. But let's talk about tech. Let's talk about the digital space, because there's a lot going on there.
A
lot of startups are shooting up, fintech, creatives who are designing animations, African video animators and all of that in the fintech and tech space. What's there for them?
A lot. And, part of the work that we have already undertaken is the development of the digital trade protocol.
Okay.
Now, with the finalization or conclusion of the digital trade protocol, you needed the base.
Yeah.
And I like saying it. Sometimes my colleagues don't get too excited, but I like saying that the digital trade protocol is actually meant to facilitate or to enable trading goods and trading services.
Yeah.
Now, when you're talking trading goods, you talk about it as e-commerce.
Yeah.
But everything else then becomes digital trading services. When you talk about fintechs, you're talking about digital financial services, because then you're touching on the financial services sector. And by extension, we are already discussing the telecommunication services sector, because you will either have to use the mobile technology or you use computers. So you have the computer-related services also. Now, one of the key things that we have also done is to actually have the regulatory framework for ensuring that you're able to get your telecommunication services functioning well, and you have your financial services functioning well. Because you can have your telecom company, but it can only function in your own country. Let me give you the example of M-Pesa.
Yes.
Until recently, when M-Pesa could moved, or they said Safaricom was able to get into the Ethiopian market, it was just a Kenyan product. And so it was only functional
within Kenya.
Within Kenya. But also with the digital trade agreements at the regional level, you could also be able to transfer money to Uganda, to Rwanda, and to Tanzania, the neighboring countries, but not very far. You get it?
I get it.
I could still use my M-Pesa, even when I'm here. I can still use my M-Pesa services.
I see.
So that also means there is some form of agreement between the service providers in the telecommunications sector in Ghana with those in Kenya. So there is a lot that can actually be done. And fintechs is one of the key areas where a lot can be done. If you recall, during the Creatives Connect, we had Media Kit Africa. And this is a company that is a company from Kenya that is in the media, I can say media or creatives.
The creative
media
industry.
Media industry. But what they're saying is, you as a creative, you may not have time to actually develop your whole profile and have the collaborations and the networks that you need with the different creatives in other countries. But what can you do? You can then link up through the internet, and that's through their platform, and get your collaborations, get your consumers, get your clients using the platform. So you see different fintechs coming up, and they have a payment system that they have developed to be able to have the payments coming from one country to another. But they're also looking at how can they also be part of PAPS.
Yeah.
You see,
which is a Pan-African payment and settlement system.
Exactly. And now we get into PAPS as a big fintech, if you may call it that.
Yeah.
One of our biggest fintechs now in Africa is PAPS. Now, with PAPS, how do we ensure that payments across Africa is made much easier? So those are some of the key elements or opportunities that actually fintechs can be even part of PAPS. So there are so many opportunities that are open up to fintechs, to tech service providers. I've just given you one example of the creative sector. You have several examples. You saw during the Digital Trade Forum in Zambia, where a lot of our young people with different ideas in tech came up and showcased some of the products that they have been able to develop. We have a colleague we work with from the UK. He's actually Nigerian but based in the UK. We are talking spotting, and some of what they do is e-spotting.
I see.
So there are different opportunities in all the different sectors for our young ones to get into tech.
And very good that you reference the young ones and the opportunities that abound. Sometimes the difficulty with the young ones, and they would complain that they are not registered, they are not formal. And we have a lot of small and medium enterprises, and we have a lot of women in there. We have a lot of young people there. Those who are not in formal service provision, is there hope there as well? And how can they also be drafted in to be able to gain and harness the potential of the AfCFTA?
That's a very, very good one. And I go back to my earlier example of the saloonists and the barbers.
Yes.
Those are service providers.
Yes.
And there is opportunities everywhere.
Good. What is required of them to be able to harness some of these potentials?
Let me say we have both direct and indirect opportunities when it comes to the AfCFTA. And when I say that, I mean it in terms of formalization.
Good.
And non-formalizing
the informal,
something. But in all cases, you will find that if you're talking completely informal, it will only be at the borders.
Okay.
And when I say the borders, if you look at the border between, let's say, for me, so that we can move from east to central, between Burundi and Tanzania, there is a border between them. So if you're looking at that and you're a saloonist or you're a barber and you want to cross from Tanzania to go to Burundi, you can do it at the border and provide your services and still it works. But that is at the border. Now, the moment you're moving farther in, then either you will have to work with a company that is already established, because even for a saloon, you need a license and you need to have an establishment. But how official it is, it's also dependent on how easy it is for people to move from one country to another. And that then brings us to the issue of the free movement of people protocol under the African Union. So that will very much help the informal sector. But most of the time, we have to work with the formal sector. That even though it is at that not very high level of saying it's just opening a salon, you have already formalized it the moment you have an establishment. The moment you open your saloon, you have already formalized it. But what we are saying is that it's your skill in this case that will be important, not so there is no professional qualification that you have to go through, but it is really your skills. In terms of how good are you with your work as a barber or with your work as a saloonist. But there is that small component of establishment then that you have to still open a salon and have it registered. And there also the protocol on investment becomes very important.
So they should be prepared to formalize their services and get it all done, registered, be able to establish within the country and then operate accordingly under the protocol. I mean, we can talk about all these beautiful opportunities and the strengths that are bound when it comes to the AfCFTA without taking a look back and say, look, whether we like it or not, we need to concede that we have some weaknesses as a continent.
That is true.
And there are challenges as well. And possibly there are even some threats that we need to also consider. What would you say are some of the possible difficulties that are preventing smooth trading services on the continent at the moment? And to what extent do you think that these can be worked on if we all put ours together and work together as a continent to address them, to allow us be able to move our services across countries on the continent?
I think we've been talking about most of it actually, and there are a number of challenges. But let's say that the challenges have not stopped. Trading services already happening in the continent. The same as trading goods, actually. And we can actually say also the regional economic communities have been working. They've been there for a number of years. And so for most regions, depending on which region you come from, if you talk Central Africa, you have the CEMAC. If you're talking North Africa, you have UMA. In the West African, we have the ECOWAS. Southern African, we have SADC and SACU. And then in East Africa, we have both COMESA and the East African Community. So all those regional economic communities have been working in the area of trade for quite a number of years. Now, the biggest advantage that the AfCFTA brings is cross-regional.
Good.
You see, now with the AfCFTA, we wish to make it easier to move from North Africa to provide services in East Africa, to provide services in Central Africa, to provide services in West Africa. So the idea is that, and the mandate of the AfCFTA is really to make it easier for all of us to trade. And for me, talking trading services in this case. So the key challenge has been harmonization of our laws and regulation, the predictability. And trust issues. As I said, trading services, you have to have trust issues. And what are the trust issues? Will you provide as good services as my people and the Western world? Because that's the benchmark that we are all using in most cases. So you will find that, and this is an example that we got during the Creatives Connect Africa, that it was is it an Egyptian or is it a Mauritian? I'll give the example whichever way it works. Yeah. So there is a Mauritian company that was looking for an Egyptian to come to be part of a film that they were making in Mauritius, but they were not able to because of the laws and regulations between the two countries. But for the same individual, that same Egyptian, when they used an European company, they were able to get the same person.
Wow.
But now the person came at an added premium.
Interesting.
Which could have been made much easier if they could talk directly. So those are some of the things that we hope the AfCFTA is going to address. That we can be able, if we are having a film made in South Africa, we can get crew from different countries. We can get the actors and the actresses from all the different countries in the continent. Much, much easier. So those, and that's just an example in the creatives sector. We have many examples in the other sectors. Education, as we were talking earlier, to get a teacher from one country to another is very difficult. And so those are the kind of works we are hoping to do in terms of harmonization of or let's say regulatory cooperation frameworks, so that it's much easier to move. Another one is looking at having the mutual recognition agreements. And this is in addition to the market access commitments that countries are making. So there is the commitments that they are making, and then complemented with the regulatory cooperation frameworks and the mutual recognition agreements. Now, on top of that, we've been mandated now to assist the countries or the state parties to have the coalitions in the area of trade and services. And that's when we now bring in the private sector. If, let's say in the creatives sector, we can look at bringing the creative industry, bringing them together, having a platform for them to network, to meet, to agree, to come up with the collaborations, it's really matchmaking. So the coalitions are meant to actually bring about the networking and the collaborations that is required to be able to move easily across borders.
Good.
Yeah.
Director, we've talked about a number of services today. We've talked about education, health, legal. We've talked about the fashion industry and all of that. Just give us a sense of which of these industries, if it's possible, that stands strong in terms of export in the next couple of years from now. We'll be looking at how AfCFTA is bringing services together on the continent. Are you able to tell that one service or the other can sell on the continent a lot? Maybe a lot of young people are watching, they're getting into legal education or the medical field and teaching and creatives and all of that. Pay your assessment, because you deal with all of us offering services on the continent, or maybe media and journalism and things of that nature. Which services are likely to export high on the continent in the next few decades, in the next few years?
Wow, that's a good one. Okay, let me say it's different countries, different different sectors, and
depends on the country.
Depends on the country. Like if we talk about a country like South Africa, that is more developed in the continent, if I may put it that way, or a country like Nigeria, the big countries, Egypt, Morocco. For those countries, what they would want to export is different from, let's say,
a smaller country.
Not really smaller, because no country first wants to be called small.
Good.
Always remember.
In terms of their economy, maybe.
Yes, maybe
they
in
will
terms of
accept
their
that.
economy, yes. And so when you look at that, like for South Africa, really it's what we would call servicification. Servicification is more getting professionals in the manufacturing sector. And so because of that, they will need more the professionals and researchers, the likes. And so if those are the services sectors they are pushing more, then it would be more mutual recognition agreements, ensuring that the educational system in the other countries is as good as theirs in South Africa and all that. Now, but at the same time, South Africa has the MTNs, the
telecommunication
in film.
Yeah.
So telecoms and film, and how do they get the right people?
Giant
to be
media
part of it?
organizations like MultiChoices
exactly.
and all of that.
But they also need people to work in those.
Yeah.
So then mutual recognition, looking at how do you develop the professionals, looking at how do you have agreements also with other countries to bring in the crew, the actors, the actresses in their different films. And that is the same with Nigeria, with Nollywood. And when we were in Nigeria, actually, for the roadshow in Lagos, we actually met with this Zambian lady who is actually an actress from Zambia, who comes in and out in Nigeria
to act movies
and go
because
back.
the Nollywood is big. The Nigerian movie market is very big.
You see? And that for us is typical services, whereby she's not 100% based in Nigeria, but she comes in and out to provide the services and go back. So those are the kind of agreements that we are looking at and matchmaking that we are looking at. Because then you have different people. That is an example of Zambia. Yeah. We do have Kenyan actresses.
Kenyan actresses,
Ghanaians.
Nigerian actors who want to be in series, in South African series and all of that.
Thank you. So you can see countries like Seychelles, Mauritius, Kenya, tourism is big. So for them, tourism is the biggest area they can actually be looking and focus on. Look at, I don't know why I'm going back to South Africa, but go back to South Africa and say, for them also now, they have a big tourism sector. So they actually need to have a number of tourists also coming from the rest of the continent to boost their numbers, not only to look at the Western world, but to also look at Africa. So the perception that you can only go for tourism as an African to Europe, that's part of what we want to demystify also, you can actually consume tourism services within the continent, and you don't need to go out. Yeah. So tourism sector is big, and partly that's why we are focused on Creative Connect Africa. So you bring in the tourism component, and then you bring in the creatives themselves in the different areas. This time we focused, we focused on fashion, film, and music. This year, we can have additional sectors such as sporting, we can have gastronomy, you can have different sectors.
In fact, I was going to ask you about the other service areas that are going to be on your radar, because yes, we all enjoyed Creative Connect.
Yes.
We enjoy the creatives who came together. It was a beautiful thing to behold. And
Yes.
maybe the other sectors are also asking, when is AfCFTA bringing us together? It appears that the enthusiasm to come together is there among the service providers on the continent. Are there plans to do other service providers and all of that?
We've always worked on other service providers. You asked which ones are easier. So we were looking at what are the low-hanging fruits.
The low-hanging fruits.
Another low-hanging fruit is the air transport.
Good.
It's a tough one, I have to admit, but it is a low-hanging fruit. Why?
Okay.
We need to travel. And today we just got the good news that Air Algiers has started a route to Addis Ababa.
Good.
So they'll be having 2 flights a week.
That's
already opening up
good.
the trade between North Africa and East Africa.
Yeah.
And that's a big one. And for me, I think part of what might have helped was having the Intra-African Trade Fair in Algeria last year.
Yeah, last year.
And it opened up, for most other African countries to say, oh, so we can actually be able to do this with Algeria.
Yeah.
And for Algeria to say, oh, there is a market for us also in the rest of Africa.
Yeah.
So we can be able to get into the rest of Africa and see where we can provide our services and also sell our goods. So that is the kind of thing we are also talking about. And we have a big event, conference actually, that will be held in Lome, Togo in June for the air transport sector. And this will be co-organized between the African Union Commission, that is the Department of Infrastructure and Energy, AUDA NEPAD, ourselves as the AfCFTA, and AFCAC as the institution that is mandated to support the single African air transport market program, which is also a flagship project of the African Union. Yeah. So there is a lot happening. So that is in the area of air transport. You remember my different modes of service supply. So one very important one is the movement of business people in the continent. And so there is also a program that we are looking at developing under the movement of business people to make it easier. You've had Mr. Dangote complain a lot about how difficult it is to move across the continent.
Travel across the continent.
Exactly, and especially for trade purposes. So for that, because of that, it is important for the AfCFTA to actually look at how to make it easier for people to be able to move, because most of the time it's not only the goods that need to move. You have to move with your goods. The people must move along. And so how do we then facilitate that to make sure that people are also able to move across the continent much more easily?
Director, before we let you speak to service providers on the continent in ending the program, we want to find out about you. And I'm interested in that because, the part that you talked about gastronomy, because a lot of the people who call you Madam Creatives across the continent and are watching you would love to know some of the interests that you have. What music do you enjoy?
You won't believe this.
And I have seen you dance to very good music before. So I want to know, what is it a francophone kind of music? Is it jazz? Is it the Afro beats?
Guess fast before I actually say it, because Afro I know it will be odd.
Afro beats? No.
Country music.
Country. I wanted to go there, but I was wondering if I go there and I ask you, is there an African country musician? That would be difficult.
That would be difficult. But I love my country music and the worship songs also.
The gospel.
Gospel.
I see.
That's my
good. Really.
Thing. And then, of course, the Kenyans will forgive me if I don't talk about Sauti Sol. So.
Okay. Yeah. So that's Kenyan.
That's Kenyan.
Good. And you enjoy that a lot, right?
I do.
We're excited that you enjoy the creatives on the continent. What about food, though? You are from Kenya, you live in Ghana, but you work for all the countries on the continent of Africa. You have to be tasting all manner of foods from different countries. And very soon you are going to bring them to one table, all of them. It's a gastronomy conference, maybe.
And I will not get into the jollof wars, of course.
No. If you get there, I'm sure the Senegalese, the Ghanaians, and Nigerians will forgive you.
They will forgive me, so I'll keep off the jollof.
You have to run away from it. Bring us something else.
And of course, you can imagine me coming from Kenya. The first few months in Ghana, I suffered with the pepe.
The pepe. Because the food is too spicy.
I just could not handle it. Me and my daughter, we were both like finished. We were like, oh my goodness.
You were tearing sometimes when you were eating.
What will we eat in this country? But we are working on it.
Good.
We can now
cultural changes.
The cultural change, and we drink a lot of water.
You need it.
We need it with all that pepe. We need it. And so this past weekend we went to Safari Valley, we are also trying to see that the tourism places in Ghana. And it was quite
Which
interesting.
you have a lot in Kenya as well. You have a lot of safari.
We do. And it was quite interesting to see the animals in a different context. I must say, we see so many zebras in our...
And here they are treating them like gold somewhere.
Exactly.
That's the differences.
Those are some of the cultural differences. But it's quite interesting,
Very good and very interesting.
It also gives you opportunity to say you can actually go to Southern and Eastern Africa and see the animals also in a different setting. So you can be able to promote tourism both ways. But the interesting part of it, and why I brought it up, is in my younger days, I used to play both basketball and table tennis.
Nice.
Can you believe that?
Nice. And, basketball. I see. And table tennis. Did you do it at the competitive levels? Yes. Maybe in high school, in high school tertiary, and university. Really?
Yeah.
At the competitive levels?
Even when I was working in the UN in Geneva, we actually used to go for basketball.
Nice. Maybe okay, so I think that this will be the challenge to the Secretariat. I'm sure Chief of Staff of the Secretariat will be excited to hear this. We begin to organize a basketball competition.
Right now, I'm not sure about basketball. We have to be very fit for basketball. But we can try the table tennis.
We can try the table tennis.
Try me with the
really, you're good at it.
Let's do it.
Competitive level.
Let's do it.
I'm impressed. Director, we admire the energy that you bring to this work and doing it extremely well together with your team. I want you to tell us what excites you about this whole AfCFTA, Africa integrating its market, its services. You are enjoying it. You are seeing different cultures today in Ghana. Maybe a few years back, I couldn't have known anything about Kenya if not for AfCFTA. A few years back, if not for AfCFTA, we couldn't have been talking about bringing creatives together under one roof. What excites you?
A lot. And for me, I think regional integration as a whole, and now being at the core of it at the AfCFTA, is so exciting that we can actually be able to do something for the continent. And I will say giving back to Mother Africa. And Africa has a lot to offer. It's the lack of awareness, the lack of coming together, the collaboration that we need as a continent that is lacking. And if we can be able to actually show the continent what it has and what we can be able to do together. You know the saying, if you want to walk fast, you can walk alone. And you will walk very fast. But if you walk together, you will be able to do much more than
just doing it yourself alone.
You might move a bit slower, but
the end result will be something you'll be proud of.
Exactly. As a family, it's like the same way when you're in a family. If you decide to do something alone, yes, you'll be able to move fast. But if you want to do things in a collaborative manner, together, in a united way, then you have to bring
the results is always amazing and wonderful.
And the results is always amazing, both socially and commercially or economically, if you may look at it that way. So I think for the AfCFTA, the coming together, even for me, look, I can now eat pepe. Which even
from
my
Ghana.
own mother doesn't believe that I try now, So it tells
and maybe from West Africa, even when you go to Nigeria, it's the same kind of foods and all of that.
Exactly. So you get to understand the culture. You get to understand one another. And, when you need to trade with someone, you first have to understand them.
The culture is first, yes.
How do I even, I say one of the big things I've also learned from West Africa is that you really know how to brand yourselves, the same as South Africa. So how do we also in Eastern Africa learn from you, from Central Africa, learn from you how to also brand ourselves, and in the end brand the continent, because really we need to brand our continent, because what is coming out of the continent now is always gloom. How do we make sure that the continent is branded in a way that interests people to actually come and invest in the continent? So I think that is what we can do at the AfCFTA. And that's what we are working on to make the AfCFTA much more lively. But before we go, let me say thank you to my very small team, but very dynamic team. Let me not name names.
Before you get in trouble.
Yeah, before I get in trouble.
Because almost all of them are working, almost everybody is working within. We see the dynamism that your team bring to the table working together. It's good that you're appreciating them.
Yes.
We also appreciate you and them and the team for all the wonderful things you are doing. But also tell Africa, African service providers, tell them something. The change and the wind that is blowing on the continent of Africa with having a protocol on trading services at the AfCFTA, within the AfCFTA. The wind that is blowing, of which Africa and service providers on the continent should be proud of.
Great. I think for the continent of Africa, the main thing and where trading services is, having a protocol on trading services gives us a lot of opportunities. As you are all aware, trading services, we need trading services for both enabling trading goods and enabling trading services. And so with the opportunities that we have under the protocol, you've heard me mention the 12 different sectors that we have, ranging from business services, environmental services, and even the tourism, recreational and sporting services. All those are opportunities, especially for our young people that are innovators in the continent. You can actually have a number of fintechs that are in the services sector that can actually operate across the continent. Many opportunities are there in the trading services sector. We are working on harmonizing the regulations. We are working on the mutual recognition agreements, and even on the market access, so that you can be able to cross borders and take up the opportunities that the AfCFTA is creating, not only in goods, but also in trading services. You can trade digitally, or you can trade physically, or you can actually trade your skills. So the AfCFTA is open for trade. And as we move from negotiations to implementation, we are looking forward to your contribution as a service provider in the continent as you trade across the continent. Thank you very much.
Great. And thank you to Director, and thank you, Continent, for patronizing this platform all the time, getting closer to the AfCFTA agreement. Because here on this platform, as we have been doing, we bring that agreement closer to you so that you have understanding of the agreement, what the men and women who have been charged with the responsibility to lead us with the tools, the instruments, the protocols, give us understanding of all the work they have done to let us be able to trade our goods, our services from one country to the other, bring all the stories to you. They tell you almost everything that you need to know. And we continue to encourage you to come on this platform, send us questions for Director Emily, and we will endeavor to bring the responses back to you so that you get the best out of this agreement, harness the potential. If you are a teacher, a lawyer, a nurse, you are a journalist, you want to be able to go and report from West Africa, maybe Nigeria Television Authority, to South African Broadcasting Corporation, SABC, or CNBC, or Forbes, wherever you want to go, just know what is in as a creative for you. Teacher, nursing, whatever industry you belong, please just get to understand the AfCFTA and the trading services. Director, we appreciate your time.
Thank you so much.
We appreciate the work that you are doing for the continent and with the energy. Now we can only pray for more energy for you, and for me, for more smiles and laughter, so that I enjoy them all the time, and continue to see you in those beautiful outfits, and we see you enjoy them. We hope to see you in another Creative Connect, like you said. It might be gastronomy, so that we can come and taste some food from Kenya as well. Thank you for watching Africa.